Well, this is a pretty big deal.
And lastly, sir, we have an executive order demanding that grown men stop wearing skinny jeans.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years. For decades.
Yep, it's a huge one. And of course, it also helps boost your testosterone. Not to have skinny jeans, as of course, a lot of people are arguing today. We might need all of it, as there's a larger Thucydides Trap being built up against the United States and China right now, as a lot of people are arguing that China just had our lunch in the AI race and even potentially the drone race, as there's a lot of circumstantial evidence now coming forward that really is shaking things up and explaining why Donald Trump launched the Stargate initiative. What's really going on here, especially with these drones? Well, we're going to be doing our best to try to answer that. As of course, this morning, I remember hearing about this story about 2 days ago in the tech world. People were like, holy cow, look what China just did, specifically with artificial intelligence. And then in the beginning, I was like, well, let's see how this kind of unfolds here, as we now see the stock market hemorrhaging, according to the Daily Mail, losing $1 trillion, with the NASDAQ dropping 3%. This is why crypto prices are down, by the way, as a lot of people are fearing that China is winning the artificial intelligence arms race, as it's pretty clear that the country that controls AI or develops it in a way that is superior to other AIs will dominate the world. A lot of scholars, a lot of political leaders have argued this, and it's pretty clear. Artificial intelligence is going to be impacting us in more ways than one, and the country that dominates this particular field could be able to dominate the world. As Peter Schiff has a very interesting take on this, saying China may have jumped ahead of us in the AI race with the launch of DeepSeek, but they can't touch us when it comes to meme coins. We've got that lucrative market covered. Yes, we have the rare pepes, which are more important than a lot of people understand them to be. But regardless of that, there's a lot of news specifically surrounding DeepSeek, which, according to a lot of people in the industry, just officially dethroned ChatGPT on the App Store, as this is a pretty big deal, as the initial reports are coming in that China spent $5.5 million developing DeepSeek, as of course artificial intelligence in the United States has been and is being developed to the tune of $500 billion. There's a big discrepancy there if we're really going to believe these larger reports that it took just $5.5 million to build up this DeepSeek new artificial intelligence that also allegedly is 50 times more powerful than ChatGPT. With people now arguing that China has officially undercut the U.S. tech industry. Is that the actual case here? Well, other people like Dr. Chris Martenson don't believe so, and believe that this is starting the larger kind of AI bubble out there that is just beginning, that was very similar to the bubbles that we saw in the tech industry in the year 2000 and in the year 2008. Will that be the larger case here? As we have to understand, there are a lot of people exaggerating. There are a lot of people lying, especially when it comes to the larger kind of business fields out there, making things look a lot more bigger than they actually are, as China is kind of the king of bootlegs, and we have to understand that they rely on a lot of disinformation usually to propel a lot of their policy initiatives, a lot of their products, as they are, as many people argue, the number one kind of bootlegger out there that takes American tech and then kind of changes it slightly, but makes it their own, and then sells it to the world market, undercutting the United States. Is that the same thing that happened here? As of course, it doesn't look like it, as NVIDIA stock went down 13%, as a lot of people are saying, whoa, what's really going on here? As some people are going on DeepSeek and asking this new artificial intelligence if they could help them find a picture of a famous picture of a man with his groceries standing in front of a tank. As very interestingly, DeepSeek can't find that, which brings in larger questions to how efficient will this artificial intelligence actually be? And will it actually be able to be honest and transparent with the users there, with its clear political and governmental bias, as China doesn't allow free speech. It doesn't allow certain topics of conversation to be, of course, allowed. And with that kind of being unfolded here, will this actually be a prominent tool that will be worth using, as you won't be able to get real kind of clear answers politically or socially when it's uncomfortable to the larger kind of Chinese state there. We saw this with OpenAI here in the United States, specifically with Google developing this, as the AI here also had a very big, clear bias that leaned more towards a woke, leftist, San Francisco blue armpit-haired mentality that specifically was calling for the end of the world just to not accidentally misgender someone. That's what the argument was by artificial intelligence here domestically inside of the United States. And then we kind of wonder why China took our lunch, but China clearly has their own problems here. And if you were the president of the United States and you heard news behind the scenes that, hey, China is actually developing and has developed artificial intelligence that is stronger, better, faster, and cheaper than American artificial intelligence, you would say, hey, we need to do something about this, and this could be the reason why Donald Trump recently launched the Stargate program, which is a massive AI infrastructure initiative that is going to be spending $500 billion developing and growing artificial intelligence in the larger tech sector here. Now, the new head of the CIA, Ratcliffe, also came out and released a very interesting report pinning China on a specific lab leak that caused, a global sickness to spread all around the world here, as the CIA previously worked with them hand in hand in helping them develop, work on this, and build up this larger kind of gain-of-function research that, in my opinion, and a lot of other scholars and a lot of other scientists who were previously censored before, was the release of this. Now, the new head of the CIA is going to be important here, as he's going to be, of course, dealing with a lot of the larger kind of international foreign policy threats like China and their larger kind of economic espionage that does happen routinely. How will he handle this situation? Well, it looks like he's off to a start, specifically pointing the finger at China, saying, hey, the lab leak theory that the CIA was a part of censoring and denying the people of being able to actually have a rational conversation on and hear the details of, probably is true here, as China has responded to this by saying it's extremely unlikely that all of this came from the laboratory that was working on the same exact pathogen that, of course, was released onto the world, as the CIA clearly has a lot of connections to it as well. Now, China here denying all of this, as it's also important to note here that they also denied international investigators during the beginning of this. Later on, they allowed them in after, of course, they sanitized all of the wet markets and destroyed a lot of the evidence. But clearly, China doesn't want to look like it's at fault here, especially for something that has been very vastly affecting the world that was essentially done in their own backyard. Now, EcoHealth Alliance, Peter Daszak, a lot of other people were also involved here, but, clearly something bigger was afoot here, and this larger kind of back and forth between China and the United States kind of pointing fingers at each other is concerning for a lot of geopolitical strategists that warn of a Thucydides Trap happening between China and the United States, as Donald Trump is making moves now trying to fix a lot of the wrongs within the U.S. military and the old American foreign policy that used to give China everything that they wanted it to. If you remember, the Joe Biden presidency essentially said, China, whatever you want, as China also had very interesting business ties to a lot of his family members, and the United States literally intervened in elections like they did in Brazil to help out the pro-Chinese candidate to, of course, hurt the pro-American Western candidate. Anthony Blinken, the U.S. State Department, literally sent members of their own government down to Brazil during the elections there. And they were like, okay, how can we help these Chinese-backed politicians get into power in this larger developing nation in Latin America? That's the legacy of the Biden administration. And it looks like the Trump administration is definitely providing a different legacy here that is important to look at, as he is fixing a lot of the wrongs that have made America weak, including the U.S. military weak, as Donald Trump keeps talking about, hey, we got to make the U.S. military stronger. I think with this larger policy initiative that he just signed, he absolutely will. Before playing this clip, which is really big, really significant, we wanted to remind people that this show pretty much runs on your hope, your support, and we don't have any big kind of corporations, we don't have any big backers, we don't have any big institutions backing us. Who's backing us? You only. And you could do that very easily and conveniently on lukeunfiltered.com. You click here, signing up. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. It's less than 20 cents a day. If you've been thinking about doing this, what are you waiting for? Do it now. We need your help. We need your support. The more you help us, the more I want to do for you. Again, we're changing things up drastically here at this independent media organization. We're trying to stay afloat. But once we get sailing, once we get moving, I want to be there. I want to be there at Davos. I want to be there at Bilderberg. I want to be there when news breaks somewhere internationally. I want to travel there. I want to report for you guys live on the ground with also highly edited vlogs and all this other stuff. We set up another YouTube channel, Luking Out. Again, we're going to be doing some really cool things, but we need your help in order to do that. So sign up to lukeunfiltered.com, and we do a lot of really cool, awesome things in exchange for your direct support. We are doing a range day. We're going to have to postpone the date on that. It's not going to be February 1st, by the way. It's going to be probably a week or 2 weeks later down the line. I will inform everyone once we have all the specific details. We're going to be doing more meetups in real life. We're going to be doing more nature hikes. We're going to have a special exclusive video just for members after today's live podcast episode, which is going to be going up at 6 p.m. Eastern. Stay tuned for that here on this YouTube channel. As members during the live show, also get the ability to chat for free super chats, and also get the ability to call in and be a part of the larger conversation. As things are getting pretty serious, especially with the U.S. military, as we recently had this important announcement from Donald Trump that just reinstated more than 8,000 service members that I would argue are some of the smartest, strongest U.S. service members that were previously discriminated against by the Biden administration that disregarded their bodily autonomy. Now, the Biden administration fired these people in disgrace. They kicked them out with no respect or honor at all. Donald Trump is bringing them back with restitution, which is huge.
Well, Congressman, this is great news. Trump said he was going to do this. And ultimately, 8,000 men and women who got kicked out with this mandate by Joe Biden, they can go back. They can get their job at the rank, back pay, same pay. This is a great day for them.
Great day for patriots, great day for our service members, my brothers and sisters in arms. And let's not forget, you go back in time, and it wasn't just the military, it was other...
Yep, as a lot of people in a lot of industries were discriminated against. We're screwed over as we had to deal with a very horrifying situation that shot America in its foot. It definitely doesn't look like we have that now with the Trump administration that is acting a lot different than the Biden administration as today. We also got very shocking details into the Chinese spy balloon fiasco, as the Daily Mail today is also reporting in a very interesting way. I always kind of question, why are all these articles coming out at the same time? What's the larger kind of coordinated message here? What's the larger theme that we're getting here? As there's new evidence coming out that more than a year later, after this larger balloon scandal, we have found out that the U.S. government knew about this spy balloon in advance, as there were reports suggesting that the U.S. intelligence agencies may have been aware of the balloon from the moment that it actually launched from China, highlighting alleged more military intelligence failures there, as they failed to allow a Chinese spy balloon to literally fly over America and to use its spying and hacking capabilities over secure sites all throughout the United States. Once again, highlighting a gross negligence or maybe some deliberate sabotage that was deliberately being done by the U.S. government working hand in hand with the Chinese government that they were serving in order to get extensive contracts and business deals. What do you think was really going on here? Well, the question still kind of leaves us with more kind of larger revelations here that I think a lot of people don't really kind of comprehend here, as we still have the larger story of more mysterious drone sightings being spotted over the northeast of the United States, as there are some members of the U.S. government specifically saying, hey, yeah, it's China. that's doing this from submarines, as we have this very interesting article describing how Chinese submarines could launch drone and, quote, do more than the U.S. military thinks, according to a new study that has been released here detailing how the U.S. military plan for their own underwater drone release is something that the Chinese are already working on, have already developed, and potentially could already be using, as China also has been largely a major manufacturing hub on the world, and they have shown to provide cost-effective, cheap drones that are soaring in popularity in China. Now, the United States doesn't really have a manufacturing base, and the larger question needs to remain today, did China not only just beat us out and jump ahead of us in the AI race, allegedly, or did they jump out ahead of us also in the drone war spy saga that we've been hearing about? As we have to remember, U.S. Foreign Affairs Chair came out, a U.S. member of Congress came out and said that these spy drones are specifically from China and that they are wreaking havoc over the United States. Now, are they, or is this kind of a larger kind of deliberate plan and plot here to kind of put us on edge here and make us look at China as the larger enemy here? Now, it's clear China has its own kind of larger kind of ambitions on the world stage. Clearly, they want to become a world hegemony. Clearly, they are working on a lot of trade initiatives with their Belt and Road projects that are making a major impact when it comes to, of course, trade and building up their natural resources. They are expanding their island territories, and a lot of people see them as a potential empire that could threaten the American empire. Now, this leads us to the Thucydides Trap, where you have a new emerging power challenging the current power, the current hegemonic world dominant force out there, which is the United States. And this usually historically leads to a battle, leads to a conflict. We saw this with the Spanish and the Portuguese and the French and the British. And again, history just keeps kind of repeating in these kind of weird cyclical ways, as now a lot of people are saying, well, it's time for the American empire to decline and the Chinese empire to, of course, increase, as a lot of people are also specifically arguing that the way to kind of prevent this Thucydides Trap, this war, is to have America kind of be propelled here. And if it is propelled, it's no longer a competitor with China. If it does way better than China, if it's able to, of course, outperform China, then China won't have a need to, of course, have this larger potential conflict that I think we should be avoiding at all costs. It does seem like that is the larger kind of policy initiatives here by Donald Trump, as we do have to understand here that there's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo out there. Who do you believe throughout all the noise here? Did China really take our lunch with this AI program? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, of course, how it plays out, especially with some of its larger kind of political free speech limitations that are pretty clear on Chinese apps that, of course, work with the Chinese government. Now, what will happen, as of course it's important to look at specifically whenever you have the restrictions of free speech, you have the restrictions on markets. How will this kind of play out in this larger kind of economic capitalistic way? Well, only time will tell, but it's definitely a very fascinating world that we're living in right now, that I think we could all kind of agree that the main kind of focus here, the main mission here, should be propelling America forward. Will it be able to be propelled forward? Will China kind of make its way and dominate here? Fascinating conversation. We're going to continue it on this independent media organization that is, of course, run by you. Stay tuned for more. Let me know what you think about this conversation. Do you even subscribe and believe this latest news from the Chinese about them dominating artificial intelligence now? Let me know what you think, since I think we should question everything here, including the circumstantial stories that are all lining up here specifically with this topic. I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.